Going into this school year digitally is going to be really tough for you and for them, and there's not going to be any time to waste because, as we know, most students who are working from home might do 2 to 3 hours of work. They're not going to be with you the 6 or 7 hours you used to have. So the amount of flexibility and time to reteach anything just won't be there. But with these forms, you can re-practice the same skills. You can assess them at different levels of difficulty. You can reinforce vocabulary using the level 2 form, and you have a horde of assessments and reading response forms that are done for you and then that you can choose. So much flexibility in this product. I really am hoping you take a look at this, share it with your teachers, let everyone know about it, and I hope you find it super helpful getting your year started with ease. Good luck and bless you. Hi, this is Melanie Lukowski from Mrs. L's Leveled Learning. Most of my resources revolve around Marzano scales, proficiency scales for differentiation. So some of you may be familiar with that work already, but I want to show you something new today, Google Forms, that are going to help you with your English language arts instruction, especially while most schools are going back to digital learning. And I'm going to show you how to use them in a way that differentiates for your students, in a way that reviews all the skills and contents. I know most people are worried about missing so much time in fourth quarter, and this first quarter going back to school may not be any easier for you, especially if your school is starting online. There's not going to be any time to waste. You're going to want to make sure that you and your students dive right into content related to your standards, essential content from the very beginning, and that will save you some of the wasted time of figuring out the hybrid school, home, digital learning circumstance that we find ourselves in right now. So I want to share with you these Google Forms that I've created, show you how to use them, show you what's included. And for some of you who are working with special populations, I'm going to show you how these forms can benefit you also. Special populations mean certain minority groups, lower income students, students with learning disabilities that need more review, and some of your immigrant students who may be ESL, learn English as a second language, who need a lot of repetition and are learning vocabulary on top of your regular grade level content. This example I'm going to show you first is third grade. I have English Language Arts Google Forms for reading literature, reading information. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade will be coming out July 2020. So let's get started. Here's the first one, third grade reading literature. And this is the standard for third grade reading literature, the first standard based on Common Core. Your state may have some modifications to Common Core. Most states are doing pretty much the same thing, even if they've changed some of the language and wording of it. So I can use details from the text to ask and answer questions that show my understanding. All of the standards language have been translated into simple sentences so that your students have a learning goal that they can understand. In the Marzano structure of using proficiency scales, there's those 4 levels of difficulty, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 are background knowledge for the students. 1 usually comprises basic skills from a year or 2 earlier that the students will need to build up to grade level. The second level is usually the previous grade level content, the third standard broken down, or it focuses a lot on vocabulary to give your students repetition and practice as they work their way up to grade level mastery. Level 3 is grade level mastery, and that is an exact translation of the standard that you have to teach this year. So the idea is you work backwards in order to move further with greater mastery and more repetition. Level 4 is optional, and it's usually for your advanced students, students who need enrichment, students who come into your class already having mastered their grade level content, or students who get through it quickly and they just need an extra challenge. So level 4 you won't always use, but it's a really great challenge for those kids who finish early or just need more challenging work. So let's take a look at how this works. The level 1, in reading language arts, for every standard, there's going to be a reading passage. This one is Jack and the Beanstalk. It's a 2-page story. It's included in the Google form, so there's nowhere else for your students to flip or go to find the content. They're going to have the title so they know what they're working on. And then there's a different learning standard for level 1. So if you can see how level 1 relates to standard, the level 3 grade level standard for 3rd grade is I can use details to ask and answer questions. When we work backwards to level 1, this is how it's simplified. I can tell the difference between a question that's related to the text and a question that's not answered in a specific. So level 1 is kind of like a warm-up for them. It also is a pre-assessment for you to see where your students are at with the content. They read through the passage, which is included in the Google form, then they get to the questions. All of the answers for every question have been inserted for you. These documents were originally PDFs. The PDFs were a little more difficult because there was a lot of writing. We tried to keep the questions simple so that students could answer in 1 or 2 sentences, which is pretty easy for 3rd graders. The changes I've made in the Google Forms are that instead of all writing, which can be very tedious for 3rd graders, there are a lot more multiple choice questions and short answer questions. So you'll see that as we browse through some of these levels. Here's question number 1. What color hair did Jack have? Can this be answered in the text? Well, they may have imagined Jack a certain way. They could look at the black and white photo, but they'll have to go back and skim through the details to find the answer. If it's not in the answer, they'll say, no, that detail is not included. And as you'll see, this little green check mark shows you that the answer's already been included and 1 point has been assigned for this question. So as you go through these quizzes, there's a total of points that have already been assigned by me to save you a little more time. Because these Google Forms have been set up as quizzes, students will have a progress bar. They can see how they're doing. It's selected for you to check and review after they've turned in all their questions. Because of the typing, you are going to have to read through some. It won't automatically grade everything for you. But all the responses will be included in a response form where you can look at your whole class's answers together, which is a really fast and easy way to grade because even if you're grading individual sentences, they're going to be in a spreadsheet for you. So question number 1, all of your students' questions will line up and you can just here's the question, there's the answers. It's so fast when you can grade, think about one thing at a time, move to question 2, think about one thing at a time, skim through everybody's answers, check them off if they seem okay, and then get right back to the next one. They're just so fast and easy to use, so I'm super excited about this product. Lots of multiple choice questions in level 1 because, again, level 1 is like a review level. You just want to make sure they have the basic idea to comprehend the grade level skill, and then you move on. Level 2, I can answer a given question about a text by rereading the details for an answer, is a little more challenging. And for some standards, you're going to be including a lot of vocabulary. For instance, in 4th grade, they have to learn about allusions. In the 5th standard or 6th standard, they have to learn about the language of point of view, 1st person, 2nd person, 3rd person. So whatever vocabulary is included in your standard is going to be introduced in level 2 and level 1. And level 2 will make sure they master that before they go on to level 3, which is mastering the grade level content. So in this example, for reading literature level 1, they're just going to get a little tougher and be asked to go back and pull out details. So there's still some multiple choice questions and then a few short answers. I'm going to show you a trick for your students who struggle with typing, how to get these questions answered easily. Level 3. Now this is grade level mastery. Your students will not be able to complete every section at the same time. It's going to take too long. So typically I assign one section at a time, maybe one per day. Usually you want to do level 1 and 2 as a pre-assessment. Maybe you could do it as homework or practice, a review activity. And then level 3 is going to be an assessment. That's how they're designed, but you can use it how you want. To see, have they gotten it? So after some instruction and review, do they understand how to apply this standard to the reading passage? So there's more written answers and more open-ended questions for level 3 because you really want to make sure their comprehension and mastery are there. Once they get through the level 3 questions, again, all these responses are going to that nice little spreadsheet. Yay. Level 4 is optional. This is your enrichment. So for the level 4, you may or may not have students get this far. Level 3 in proficiency scales is grade level mastery. This is what your students will be tested on in those state tests at the end of the year. You want to make sure that's the content they have down. Level 4 is optional, maybe for your advanced students. So there's some, if you think about the higher order thinking questions, Bloom's or Marzano's taxonomy, level 4 is at the very highest level, evaluating, creating, synthesizing, applying these ideas to something more complicated, maybe even finding their own texts or resources to do something creative with. So level 4 is optional, usually entails a lot more inferences. I can make inferences to answer questions about a text. I can use details from a text to check that my inferences are reasonable. So this is what they'll be doing in the kinds of open-ended questions they'll be asked. If you notice, the heading of every level relates to the same story. Level 1, level 2, level 3, it all relates to the text that's in here, Jack and the Beanstalk, so your students never have to flip to other pages. They do all the reading and all the questions from the same screen, which is less complicated for them and for you. Let's look at some 5th grade examples, as well as having a specific passage and specific questions for that passage that your students can work through. You will also get included with your document. The Google Forms is a folder full of reading response forms. Now, the awesome thing about this is that you can use them with any text you choose. You can integrate it with science, social studies, history, have them reading something multiple times, and then answering questions about it at those different levels. So let's say you are working on, 5th grade reading language, 6th standard, for reading language and reading information, has to do with point of view, first, second, and third person. All the grade levels focus on the same thing. So if it's 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, you're doing point of view for the 6th standard. When this is broken down into levels, you'll see here that I separated them. So in your folder called Any Text Forms, the passage forms are based on one story and have the 4 different levels that your students can work through one at a time. Level 1, 2, 3 is the grade level that they have to master. This is the tested level at the end of the year. Level 4 is optional, advanced. Any text forms, these are your reading response forms that students can use to focus on the same exact skill with any text. So there's a space here where students will be typing in the text that they're using, and it could be assigned by you or chosen by them, depending if you want to use it for homework, class practice, to cross-curricular assignments. If you're working on science, history, social studies, you want them to reread an article and then answer different questions about it related to the language arts standards. Great way to get some repetition in there, especially for your students who need to build fluency and need that repetition to master content. Your answers, student answers, will still file into a response form. It's just that there aren't answers listed already because it's about any text. So when your students go to complete this form, you assign the text. You tell them all what to use, show them where to find it, whether it's a hard copy or something they're reading online. They fill this in just to concur that they are reading the right thing that you assigned, or you can fill this in before you assign it to students so that they know what they're supposed to be reading and answering questions on. The questions are more general, but all related to the standard. Most of the questions, they're based exactly on your story. So you'll want to develop an answer key of your own, and I'll give you a hint how I do this. Instead of making one myself, I just ask my smartest kids, my highest kids, to go through the response form first. Then I look at their responses, I check them, and if their answers are great, that's my answer key. I don't do any extra work myself except for checking their answers because I know that they'll give me reliable ones. Might be cheating, but it will save you a lot of time when you're going through so many different reading passages, so many different times. And then once you have that response saved, you have your own answer key forever and ever, and you can continue to reassign that passage every year. So it's kind of a great little shortcut. Some really good conversations could be had with these open-ended questions because your students will think of all kinds of things that are very pertinent to the text or to current events. Point of view is a very important topic right now in our society. So it's great to be able to facilitate those discussions with the literature that you choose. And these any text forms will give you the choice of any literature you like. Because they're broken up in 4 different sections, you will also be able to assign them at different times with different things at different difficulty levels. So again, level 1 is the background knowledge from earlier grade levels that will set them up to understand the grade level concept, which is 3. Level 2 focuses on vocab, but also reviewing previous concepts. Level 3 is mastery of the exact grade level skill at grade level ability. And then level 4 is advanced thinking and application. Let's see. Oh, the last thing I wanted to show you about using these forms, especially with your 3rd graders, typing, lots of typing can be a challenge. Let's see, did I get rid of that 3rd grade form? Oh, here, 3rd grade. So I want to show you a cheat. I don't know if you're comfortable using this or not, but I'm going to show you anyways. Since you're assessing comprehension and not typing skills, I let some of my students use the dictation feature in Microsoft Word. Let's take a look at this. It's pretty fun. They open up a Microsoft Word document. They scroll down to the question they need to write. Okay, multiple choice. Here we go. Write one question of your own that can be answered in the story. Find the answer and write it next to your question. Okay, so let's see. They ask a question like, why did Jack's mom help him escape from the giant? Here she is. Is she doing anything to participate? Well, let's see. They have to write this question and type it in, but I know some of my 3rd graders take forever to type a sentence and forget about grammar. This tool is great because I could say, did Jack's mother help him escape from the giant? And then they have to go back and add their own conventions, maybe correct some spelling, but oh my gosh, it's that fast. You want to do a classroom assignment that's going to take 15 to 20 minutes, not an hour of typing. So they simply copy it, paste it into their long answer text form. Sorry, let's show you the student view. There we go. That was the teacher view. Here's the student view. They copy that, paste it in, there's their answer. Yay, fast and easy. I personally don't consider that cheating because, as I mentioned, you're not assessing typing skills, you're assessing comprehension. So I let my students do it, but you can make that decision on your own. So please let me know if you have any questions about this resource. There's so many ways you could use these forms, and there's so much included for every single language grade level. There's a separate set of forms for reading language and a separate set of forms for reading information. They're all designed the same way. You're going to have those passage forms with the reading passages already included. So students just scroll up and down to reread and find the answers they need. Really cute for nonfiction. I love all the text features. For your any text, which could be classroom practice, extra quizzes, extra assessments. You could even use the same skill multiple times if your students are really struggling with making inferences, finding main ideas, identifying points of view, analyzing text features. You can use the same form over and over with different articles so that they are really practicing the skill over and over. On the levels, it may look like a lot, but if you're reviewing content anyways, you want to make sure that your lower level students have enough practice. Good luck and bless you for all of the work that you are doing.